To another episode of Rock Boys Football. One of the more fascinating matchups we're going to see all Saturday. Colorado Coach Prime going on the road to play UCF in the bounce house. And I think what makes this game so fascinating is I think one, you're looking at one of the best passing attacks we see in the country with Colorado. Shadir Sanders, four wide receivers that I think are going to be playing in the NFL over the next couple of years. Then you look at UCF and say, this is one of the best rushing attacks that we see across the country. You know, we always say styles make fights. I think this is a fascinating matchup between two teams that have elite traits about them. Fired up to get into it. Now, before we do, and as always, just want to say one, thank you to you guys. It's been a blast doing these game preview and prediction episodes, and the amount of support y'all have shown the fellas. It means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, let it fly in the comment section, whether you agree with the boys, whether you disagree. That is, again, the beauty of doing these preview and prediction episodes. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And let's start with, what I think is probably the most important matchup that you see in this football game, and that is this UCF rushing attack going up against this Colorado defense. Now, the national media, I think, continues to just miss the mark evaluating this Colorado defense. I think they just think about what we saw from 2023 and kind of just assume it's the same defense. This Colorado defense, specifically in the front seven, is massively improved from what we saw last year. You take a look at the numbers. I mean, going up against some pretty dang good rushing attacks in Nebraska, North Dakota State, they're only giving up 4.2 yards per carry. I'm not saying it's a Georgia Bulldogs front seven, but it certainly is much improved from what we saw last year. And I think there's just a lot of, hey, I am watching Colorado. I'm just going to get up and talk about the talking points we had in 2023. BJ Green, Deion Hayes. You look on the inside, I think you have some guys that have been playing really well, but I think most notably, the linebacker position is massively improved, right? You take Nikai Hill-Green, former Michigan linebacker, one of my favorite linebackers that played for Michigan. He's been exceptional for Colorado. Levante Bentley looks better than he did last year. This is a Colorado front seven that it just looks different when you watch the film. Like, these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. It's an improved unit they're going up against. And what I think is one of the best rushing attacks that you see in the country. Now, you look at UCF and what they do on offense, 40 points per game, top 15 in the country. They run the football 73% of the time. That's fifth most in the country. I'm pretty sure it's the only service academies that are running the football more than UCF. And what makes this UCF rushing attack so hard to deal with is they use so many different concepts in the run game. Not only do they have some elite players, right? What KJ Jefferson can do with his legs. You look at RJ Harvey, I think one of the best running backs that you see in the country. What I love most about UCF is, yeah, they're going to run the football, but they're going to run the football in so many different ways, whether it's between the tackles, whether it's with some jet sweep motions, trying to get to the outside. You look at RJ Harvey, not only is RJ Harvey a very efficient ball carrier in terms of just getting hard earned yards, he's also extremely explosive. 16 10-plus yard carries on the season throughout only 3 games, an exceptional number. He's got 14 missed tackles forced. He's averaging 7.6 yards per carry. I mean, RJ Harvey is the featured back in this UCF offense, but because they run the football so much, they need to rely on a lot of backs. Penny Boone's averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Miles Montgomery averaging 7 yards per carry. They run the football a lot. They run the football a lot in different ways. That's by far the biggest matchup. Now, if you were to ask me, don't show me the scoreboard, just show me how many rushing yards UCF had and what the time of possession was, I probably would be able to tell you who won the football game. UCF's very good in time of possession, number 15th in the country. That's what they're going to try to do here. I mean, they're at home. They want to stay on the football field, keep their crowd engaged, and just limit the amount of time Shadir Sanders has to get on the football field and have possessions. If you're UCF, you want to run this football, keep Shadir Sanders on the bench, and kind of just grind this team out. But again, I think this Colorado front seven is much better than a lot of people give them credit for. I mean, Coach Prime brought in some legitimate difference makers in that front seven, and it is paying off throughout the first couple games of the season. I think another kind of interesting wrinkle that you're going to see in this football game is, look, we all know Colorado wants to play a lot of single high safety. They trust their boundary cornerbacks. UCF does not throw the football very often, but when they do decide to throw the football, they want to push it down the field, right? You look at KJ Jefferson's numbers, they're averaging 10.3 yards per pass attempt. That's 11th in the country. They don't throw the football that often, but when they do, they're explosive doing it. KJ Jefferson, average depth of target is 13 yards. That's one of the highest in the country. And who do they throw it to? They throw it to Kobe Hudson, who I think is one of the better wide receivers in the country. I think another intriguing matchup is not only can Colorado stop the run, but can you deal with Kobe Hudson on the boundary? Because we know Colorado is going to play a lot of single high safety, leave their confidence. They're going to have confidence. Kenny and Travis Hunter at the boundary cornerback spot. They're going to try to work Kobe Hudson vertically. Can Travis Hunter and DJ McKinney win that matchup consistently is probably the last question you're looking at in terms of that side of the football. Now switching sides. Again, what makes this game so fascinating in my eyes, this is one of the best passing attacks that you see in the country for Colorado versus a UCF defense that struggles in two different departments that I think is key here. One, they're not very good getting after the passer. They're only sacking the quarterback 1.2% of dropbacks. That is 130th in the country. And they're giving up 8.1 yards per pass attempt, 96th in the country. The passing defense for UCF, although a small sample size, really only that TCU game, has not been great. And so Shedeur Sanders, with all the talent that he has at wide receiver, is going to have an opportunity to really put some points up on the board. Can they do that? I think the biggest matchup that you have here is, can Colorado hold up in pass protection? UCF hasn't rushed the passer well that often. We still have question marks about the Colorado offensive line. Now, one caveat that I think is really important to note, the last two games, Colorado has looked solid in pass protection. I think that has a lot to do with, having a semblance of a run game. This was a massive problem for Colorado against Nebraska, where they couldn't get anything going on the ground. Nebraska kind of knew just Colorado was going to throw the football. They were pinning the ears back and getting after the passer. One of the things you can do to help your offensive line and pass protection is just have a little bit of balance, right? So teams are not just pinning the ears back and getting after the passer. Colorado, the last two games, has kind of showed a little bit more balance. Now, I ain't getting up here and saying that Colorado should be running the football 70% of the time like UCF, because you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. That being said, running the football and finding some of that balance, Coach Prime has noted this in some of his press conferences. It's taking a little bit of pressure off this offensive line in pass protection. So can Colorado maintain that balance on the road, and can they hold up in pass protection? We all know Shedeur numbers. Like when you look, I guess I should say, we all know Shedeur Sanders' numbers in terms of when he has a clean pocket. His numbers are some of the best in the country. If Colorado can block up UCF and give Shedeur some clean pockets to work with, you kind of like your chances of these wide receivers going up against the UCF secondary that lost a lot of key guys in the transfer portal this offseason. So I think it's just two matchups. And I think it's hey, can Colorado's passing attack win the day, or can this UCF rushing attack win the day? That's kind of the question mark that we are looking at here. Getting into the pick here, 14.5 points. I think that's too much. I think Colorado keeps this one close. I think this is going to be a very fun game. I think there's going to be a lot of points put up on the board. Now, do I pick Colorado to go on the road and win this football game? I think that's to be determined, but I'll certainly take 2 touchdowns with Colorado on the road here. I think one of the question marks that we have to talk about, though, is it's going to be a rowdy environment. You saw Colorado's offensive line struggle in a big way on the road in Lincoln. Can UCF's home field advantage, the bounce house, one of the more underrated venues in college football, can that play a role in terms of hearing the snap count for Colorado's offensive line, picking up blitzes and pass protection? That's something I'm looking at. But at the end of the day, I don't think Colorado should be giving up 14.5 points to UCF, a team that I really like. But I think Colorado has some matchups they can get after. Again, I don't necessarily know who wins this football game, but I think it's going to be closer than what Las Vegas is telling us. Fired up for this one. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.